Hey, welcome everybody to this week's version of, listen, I'm working on a little bit of sleep here, so Pond Boys, that's what it is. We're on Pond Boys. So, hey, we're excited about this week's show. This is actually our second installment with our very special guest, Carolyn Capern and Greg Trujillo are here joining us, and we get to talk to them about zombies today, and I'm so stoked about that. So. But before we go into that, hey, listen, these guys have played Pawn or Die before, and they are very, very good at it. So they don't feel like they need to polish their Pawn or Die skills today. And so we are looking for somebody to play with us out of our audience. So just give us a holler if you want to just message myself, or probably preferably Rhonda. Message her, and we will get you on, and we'll have a good time. We're playing this game no matter what today, so you guys might get to play. So that's the dealio today. So
yeah, we don't want to leave Jerks Jump just hanging there for 2 weeks in a row.
No. And I emphasize hanging, okay? So no, that's not what we want to do. So hey, let's get right into this. I felt like this was a very appropriate time to have our second installment of a zombie special, just because we are right on the cusp of Halloween. We're 3 episodes into Walking Dead, and it's just a good time to do this thing. So without further delay, let's welcome our guests. Carolyn Capern, Greg Trujillo, welcome you guys.
It's great to be back. And, boy, is it just me, or is The Walking Dead getting more and more exciting every time?
Oh, man, I'm telling you what. I was a little, just like, remember last time we talked about this, Greg, is I was a little disappointed in last season. And I thought it was a little slow. And I think that I know why now. They were trying to set everything up for this season. What do you think about that?
Well, it seems that, or what I've been able to see, just based on the seasons that I have available, is the even seasons are slow seasons, and the odd season is on the exciting, action-packed seasons. And we started that out with season 1, being pretty action-packed, and it did slow down a little bit, a couple of episodes, but it was a very small season, 6 episodes, so there really wasn't a lot of time for them to slow it down. Season 2, they took a long, drawn-out approach to what was going on, slowed it down a little bit, cut down the deaths slightly, and then Season 3, again, very action-packed, very, very fast-paced, a lot of people, core people in the group dying, and then Season 4, they had to take a step back again and slow it down and make sure to, like you said, set it up for what's going on right now, which is very, very tense.
Yeah, man, it is, and you're all. I know Carolyn's not quite up to date. You got a show left to watch. Is that right, Carolyn?
That's right. I'm a bit behind, so I'm going to go like this when you talk about the new episode.
Yeah. So you didn't watch last night's. That's it, right?
That's right. I'm up to date otherwise, though.
Like right out of the gate, this thing was like gore, like some serious gore, right? I mean, jeez. That first episode kind of knocked my socks off. That was pretty cool. Anyways,
even before they got to the credits.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's been kind of like that, like through these last 3 episodes. So what I wanted to talk about is a little bit about the entrance of kind of our new villain that. Sorry, Carolyn, that
Spoiler alert.
Abrupt end last night.
You go, Carolyn.
So we had the governor as a villain, and we've got is it Garrett is his name?
Gareth.
Yeah. Okay. Garrett. So I wanted to ask you guys, as far as villains go, who's better in your opinion?
Well, from what I've seen, the governor is a much better villain. Gareth, I mean, you can almost feel sorry for him because he was part of the original Terminus society that was actually accepting people in. They were taking people in, and they were trying to help everybody. And they had an invasion and another group took them over and started raping and killing their people and brought upon the cannibalism. So what happened is when his group took the terminus back over, they did it back to the people that did it to them. And when they did that, their mind began to alter and twist and became what they were later on. They're much like everybody else, just simply trying to survive the situation, except they've had too much happen to them and they couldn't handle it mentally. Gareth as a villain himself, I think, is honestly pretty weak because he's not really trying to be an evil person. Like if you even look at the way that he handled Bob, leaving Bob alive to cut his leg off and eat him, it's not because he was trying to torture him. And he even explained that this isn't personal. We would do this to anybody. And what he's saying is that we're leaving you alive and eating you limb by limb because we have no way to store you. Can't kill you and hack you up into pieces and keep your stored meat and travel along with you, so we have to keep you alive in order to make sure that our meat stays fresh. As far as a villain, he's just simply trying to do what he thinks he has to do to survive. Going a little bit spoiler alert here, but going back into to find Rick and the rest of the group in this last episode does show a little bit more of his villainous traits because he is actually attempting to go slaughter these people rather than just hunting for meat as previously stated. So I think the governor far outweighs him as a villain. The government as well, but the governor for sure. Oh, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. At first, I thought, man, this guy is pretty twisted. I think he is still pretty twisted. He gets you pretty twisted to resort to cannibalism.
Oh yeah.
But he sounds like just the way they made his voice. He sounds so calm and just so I don't know. He just sounded just like he had some problems. But after going along with what you said and watching last night's episode, now I see why they plug your ears, Carolyn. Why he's come to an abrupt end. So he's done. I thought they were going to keep him around. So
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't watch the show. Now my older kids do watch it, and I've heard a lot of talk about the guy getting his leg or foot served for dinner.
Yes.
So they're actually keeping this guy alive so they can chop him up into bits and eat him as they go along. Is that right?
That is correct. The situation is they actually had a structure that they fortified and that they were keeping safe from zombie attacks. But they had captured the main group of the show and had them in basically some kind of storage holding unit.
Box, I think, right?
Right. And the idea is that they were going to pull them out couple by couple and slaughter them, and then they put them in their meat locker, and then they have meat for whenever. So now somebody that was not captured, that was originally part of the group, saw this going on and staged an attack, an amazing attack on the building, and it became overrun with zombies. Most of the people that were part of that city or that little building were killed, and the rest fled into the woods. So that place was no longer safe to stay, so the group that was captive also fled into the woods. And now the cannibals, they had no storage for their meat, so they were keeping the meat alive in order to keep the meat fresh whenever they needed.
Wow, poor Bob.
Yeah, pretty rough.
It was just incredibly, incredibly twisted. I love that word Ryan used because that's really the best way to describe it. I mean, this whole show has just been. I love it because not because it's a zombie story primarily, but because it's about people and the way they react and devolve in these horrible situations. So what we've seen here is now probably, it's honestly kind of easier to think about just killing someone than it is to think about killing someone and eating them. much less keeping someone alive and hacking off their limbs and eating them. So we're really getting into the thorough depravity that that this situation is sparking. It's really quite something. And I mean, coming back to the conversation about the villains, I mean, the governor was just so unbelievably compelling as a villain, because he had this very civilized human veneer at the start, and then it took actually a while before you saw him devolve into a much more violent and primitive, as it were, state. But you kind of had a whole season's arc, really, to watch that happen. Whereas Terminus, the whole thing has happened very quickly, and I think that might be partially why Gareth doesn't feel like quite as compelling a villain as the governor did, because it's just been compressed into a much tighter timeline. But that tells you something about the group that we've been following this whole way too, because they're acting much quicker, and they're making decisions about who to trust and who not to trust much more quickly. So that's going to affect the pace of the show quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. They are, I think, 2 years ago. I mean, there's always that struggle with crossing that line of being survival and being a horrible person, right?
Yep. And
so they're always talking about that. Are we those people? No, we're not those people. I mean, in the first episode, I think it was, can't remember who it was, they wanted to go in and save the people that were in those storage holders, and
Glenn, it was, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, this is who we are. This is who we are. So there's always that struggle of trying to not stepping over that line so much, but also surviving. They did some stuff on this episode that I don't think they would have done 2 years ago, for sure. Just because they're changed people. But good point, Carolyn. It's about people, how they act in these like totally extreme situations, and some of the character development I think is pretty great. So the zombies are kind of a secondary situation, so to speak. I mean,
well, let's be honest. Zombies are a little boring, right?
Yeah.
They don't speak. They don't really do much of anything aside from attack. And they're really only interesting when there's a ton of them attacking, because this group that we're following along with, they are now so adept at killing zombies, it's not even a problem. Like it seems like they can kill almost any number of zombies that they want to. It's when they run up against other groups of people, especially more depraved groups like this Terminus crowd, that's when it gets really interesting and really intense, because, like I said, they have no problems with the zombies, with the walkers. So that's now secondary to having a safe place to stay. And I think they may now be at the point where they realize there is no safe place to stay. So.
Now, see, Carolyn, you just really explained to me the hook for the show, because I'm not into this kind of thing at all. But, when I've seen a few bits and pieces of it, when the kids are watching, the zombies are moving at 1 foot per hour. I mean, they're so slow. It's not like they're not going to catch you, immediately. So I'm like, why is everybody going crazy over this show? Because these things are so darn slow. I mean, you could run circles around them and, But now I'm starting to understand that the people in it, that's the catch,
To Carolyn's point there, zombies, they're very, very predictable. There's even a couple of episodes where they show different types of zombie defense strategies that they had, and forgive me, I forgot his name, but they revealed him again in episode 2, season 5.
Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan. He's part of the original episode, actually, the pilot episode. And so they're bringing him back, and they haven't really revealed in what way that he's going to play a part in the show yet. But he had actually fortified a small little apartment complex area in a section of the town that he used to live in. And the way that he did it is he had these giant, they look like thimbles almost, or not thimbles, but like spools of wire. And he outfitted them with sharpened broomsticks just on the end. And he just put them in places that he knew zombies were going to walk while they're trying to get to while they're trying to get to them. So they just impale themselves on these spools, and then he just walks by and sticks a knife in their head and then cleans up afterwards and rinse and repeat. So I mean, he's figured it out. He's seen that these zombies are so predictable that there's almost no way that he should get caught up in any kind of zombie troubles unless he's being negligent to the situation around him. So the zombie aspect, like Carolyn said, can really only last for so long, and that's why up until now it's really been very popular in movies, because you can sit through a zombie movie and be entertained by the zombies. But once you start a show, you have to show that human dynamic, and honestly, the unpredictable human is far scarier than the predictable zombie.
At least for Bob.
So Ron, does that mean you're gonna start watching?
Maybe.
No.
I would have to catch up though. I would have to watch the first ones first because I wouldn't be able to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to just start jump in now without watching what happened before, right?
Yeah.
All responsibility. You should be able to catch up by tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, well, there we go.
It's called binge watching. And binge.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, Cheryl can tell you a little bit about that, Rhonda. I think that's what she did a while back when we were doing the Zombies on Air show. But honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I was not at all into zombies, not even a little bit before I started watching The Walking Dead. Greg will verify this. My excursions into horror movies were even pretty weak, just generally. And he and his fiance convinced me to watch it. They said, you have to sit down and watch the first couple episodes. And I said, all right, fine, whatever. Probably not going to be into it, guys. I don't like gore, but gory moments aside, it's a phenomenal show, and I mean, I'm hooked completely, as you can no doubt tell.
yeah, that's me too. I thought zombie stuff went along with. I hate UFO shows, and UFO shows mainly. I mean, Bigfoot shows maybe a little bit, but that kind of stuff just kind of But the characters in this thing are so in depth, and the way they develop these it's really great. There's not just a bunch of guys walking around shooting The Walking Dead, so to speak. So let me ask you real quick, you guys, where do you see this this season taking? Like, what do you see happening?
Well, not having seen last night's episode, I can imagine that anything I say could be wildly wrong. But it sounds like, from what you have said, it sounds like the Terminus plot wrapped up. I mean, the Terminus plot wrapped up very, very quickly, just in the beginning of the season, in terms of the things actually happening at Terminus. And it sounds like the Terminus group is now not going to be too much of a problem in one way or another.
Oh no, they're not.
And that doesn't really surprise me because of everything that Rick has been saying in the last couple of episodes before this. And I mean, he wanted to go back and kill them all right away. And I think it was only the fact that he found his baby that stopped him from that. But I think that we're almost certainly going to see a continuation of the drive to Washington in one capacity or another. That's going to have to become a part of the show, I think, because they haven't. They have the scientist who thinks he's got the cure, and this group of people that's committed to protecting him and taking him to Washington. So I'm sure that has to become a part of it. And this Father Gabriel character is still intriguing me. I'm guessing they probably did more with him in last night's show too, because they were definitely moving quickly with that plot.
Well, they did a little bit. Basically, what I was speculating about him, or partial, about 75% of what I was speculating is actually right, Carolyn.
Okay.
It's pretty accurate to what I was saying was his story, or it seems pretty accurate so far. I mean, he could be lying and not telling the truth, and something else is going on. But he really didn't play too big of a role in this previous episode. Father Gabriel really wasn't, he really wasn't that big of a deal in it. But one thing said is, you know, I will spoil a little bit for you. Rick did keep his promise, and he also made another promise. And the group actually split, and some of them are going to Washington, and the rest were waiting for Daryl and Carol to return. And so the group that stayed behind, Rick has made the promise to continue the journey to Washington after they hook back up with Daryl and Carol.
Okay.
So that's pretty much where we're at in the episode now. You know, they're looking to go. But let's talk about the cure for a second here. Anybody understand what the heck he's talking about? Because the way that it sounds, the way that he put it, it sounds like a video game to me. That he's just going to go to Washington, play a video game, and all the zombies are going to be dead.
Well, and it's such a, in their minds, it's such a sure thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not, they don't have any kind of, I mean, it's just about getting to Washington and going through the process. And so it's intriguing to me. And I don't, those characters of, and I'm really bad with names, but the guy that has the cure, they haven't really developed his character that much. I mean, he's got snippets and bits and pieces and stuff like that. Are they going to? Do you think that they're going to start developing their characters more?
They're going to have to, especially if they split. I mean, Greg. I mean, I'm sure that you can tell me who went with them. Obviously, it was Eugene is the name of the scientist character, and I think Abraham might be the name of the big guard with the mullet. And then there's the other one. So, you know, if they're continuing with that plot line, I'm sure that some of the original cast went with them too. So we're definitely going to have to learn more about them. And I agree with Greg. The whole whatever Eugene's talking about with the cure makes almost no sense to me. It sounded like some kind of crazy genetic warfare, but I don't really understand where that's going yet. So I'm hopeful that will become a more major part of the plot, because I mean it's intriguing, and I personally believe that there's no way that that's going to work, and they're probably going to find a huge mess in Washington, but we'll have to see.
From what I understand, basically what he's saying is that something like what causes the zombie virus is actually genetic warfare, and that's what he does, is genetic warfare. So what he can do, or what he's saying that he can do, is he can create a virus that attacks only dead flesh. So then it would attack the zombies, disabling them and or killing them, and game over. And that's it. Wow. So I guess the idea is he's going to go and create some kind of airborne virus that will get rid of all the zombies in the world. It sounds a bit far-fetched to me, but we'll see what happens when we get there. I kind of think he's one of those idiot savants kind of thing. I think he knows enough to convince people, but may not have any idea of what he's actually talking about.
Wow. That just sounds like something that could just go way wrong. Like, way wrong.
It probably will. It probably will go way wrong. I'm sure it will.
That's almost a guarantee on this show that just about everything they do is going to go way wrong in some way, shape, or form at some point.
Right.
Zombies with the zombie virus, you end up with double zombie.
Right?
Hey, real quick, can we say hello to, we're going to say hey to Kristen Drysdale. Good to see you, girl. She is waving wildly. Hello. And we're going to say hey to Tim Longwell and Lance Fields. And Lance actually has a question for you, Ryan.
Okay.
Let me scroll back up. I lost it. Okay, there we go. Lance wants to know, what are those things on the top shelf behind your head? Are those helmets?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Those are actually power cables for like an RV or a boat. You know those big, thick cables that you plug your RV into, you know, like outlets if you're at a camp spot or what have you. That's what those are. So, and then right next to them are helmets. I do have some helmets. Kind of down the line a little bit. So, you're not paying attention to my face and looking at the stuff behind me. Come on, Lance.
You just seen your face.
I
Who
know.
wants to know about the cool stuff?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Let's talk about for a second about the other risk of going to Washington too. I mean, when we were doing Zombies on Air, we talked a lot about the importance of your location and about the sizable disadvantages of being in a city. Now, they're trying to walk straight into a city that has probably already been significantly overrun. Not only do they have to pass by, I mean, they're in Georgia in the show, and as far as we can tell, they're still in Georgia, or at least near there. But so they're going to have to head north quite a long ways to make this happen, and they're going to probably have to try to bypass some major cities as well. So who knows what they're going to run into along the road? But heading to Washington itself sounds like a disaster in the making.
So enter another villain, or are they just gonna? That's what I'm curious about. You think there's going to be somebody else coming in? I mean, it's going to be hard to match up to the villainous of the governor. But do you think somebody else comes in, or are they just going to do it some other way?
They're most likely going to have a bit of villainous characters. I mean, even just this previous episode, there was some tension in the group itself, and that's going to be something that occurs as well. And that kind of led to the group split at the end. There wasn't a huge fight or anything, but as people have conflicting ideas about what they need to do in order to secure their situation in this type of apocalyptic world, they're ultimately going to end up disagreeing to the point that they may end up killing each other because one feels that the other is endangering their chance or their family's chance of survival.
So, I mean, how many? Here's just kind of a loaded question for you. How many seasons can they eke out of this thing? How many more seasons can they eke out of this thing?
Well, currently they've already signed for a sixth season, so there is going to be another season after this one. From what I understand, the comic book is still so far ahead on timeline versus what the actual show is right now. So they potentially have tons of more material to continue this type of show. I really don't know how long they would decide to go if it's going to be one of those things that just gets abruptly canceled and we really don't get a satisfying end, or if they already have an end written and pretty much a wrap-up ready in the event that they do get canceled. So that's really just remaining to be seen, but as long as they can shock and awe the audience, show us something that's grotesque and horrible, I think that they'll continue to have a very strong following.
Yeah, I mean, they're pulling amazing viewership numbers this season. They're, I think, record-breaking viewership numbers, even for the live episode in this era where watching on Netflix or watching on replay afterwards is just becoming what you do, not watching a show live. And they're still getting millions and millions and millions of viewers to tune in every single week. So because they have so much material from the comic books, they will probably be able to go a while. Like Greg said, as long as they keep pulling the shock factor. But me personally, I always kind of root for shows to wrap up somewhere between, if they're good shows like this one anyway, somewhere between season 7 and season 10, just because after a certain point, shows do inevitably begin to drag and repeat themselves. So it's probably in their best interest in terms of creating a show that people will continue to watch on replay or binge watch over and over again on Netflix. It's probably in their best interest to wrap up somewhere between season 7 and season 10.
So in marketing lingo, you suggest that they try to create evergreen content with The Walking Dead.
Exactly. I mean, we're still binge watching The Office sometimes and shows like that, and that's arguably a much less compelling show. It's just funny.
So, can we look forward to any more episodes of Zombies on Air, or can you give us an insight on that?
Well, we have slightly evolved it, so I don't think we'd be coming back with Zombies on Air as it was. But we haven't really put this information out here yet. But there's potentially an opportunity, and we're still trying to weasel our way into that, to be able to get sponsorship from an extremely huge nerd factory here in Orlando to do a Sunday night nerd out or something similar to that, where we talk about all nerd topics, not just zombies, but also talk about the new Avengers movie that's coming out. Some of the other comic book movies, and just different types of heroes and gods and monsters and all kinds of different crazy things. So we'll see how that goes, and we might have an update later this year about securing that sponsorship and see what we can bring you guys.
And you never know, maybe somewhere in between we'll maybe at our mid-season break we'll do a special Zombies on Air episode and just all get together a massive panel and hatch a show just for everybody to come together and nerd out a little bit about what's happened.
You guys are killing me, because you get this show that's good, and then you want us coming back for more every week, and then you pull it off, man. What's up with that?
Yeah, the whole time pressure thing's rough.
My excuse was we ran out of sangria.
No, there you go. Go down to the store, man. So, well, we'll look forward to seeing what's going to go on for the rest of the season. Maybe we'll have you back on next Halloween to talk about some other stuff. But thanks for coming on, you guys. Do we have a player for Pawn or Die?
We do not.
Okay, you guys are elected then. Okay, so you default into those shoes no matter what. And I think you guys are unmatched in your amount of times you've been on Pawn Boys. So,
There we go.
So let's get this thing rolling. I'm gonna, if you want to kind of take that little bit of the helm on this one, I've got a couple of things I've got to do. But I will be back in just a minute or so. Okay, Rhonda?
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right, well, I'll just go ahead and show the first item then.
What is the first item?
The bobblehead. If you could explain this one real quick.
This is, if anyone's watched like classic Saturday Night Live stuff, this is Chris Farley. He's the motivational speaker, bobblehead guy. You know, he live in a van down by the river guy. Yeah, this is this guy. So I had to get it. I had to buy it when it came in. So kind of trinkety, but and it makes a good Pawn or Die item. So throw it up there.
There we go. Well, I've got it checked. I think it's just going a little slow. Are you seeing it?
Nope, not yet.
No, not yet. Okay, hold on. We just love it when Google gives us a hard time.
It's great fun. It really is.
It's great. Let's try that again. When I first saw this, it looked like Chris Farley, but I didn't get it because I haven't watched that. I'm so old I go to bed before it comes on now. So here we go. Okay, let's try a different one. Let's see if we can get a different one up. Just giving us a hard time this morning.
It is. Seems like Google doesn't want us to play Pawn or Die.
No, it actually kicked us out of the toolbox last week.
Oh boy.
No, that's fine. Well, how exciting is that for that not to work? Well, while we're waiting for that, can you tell us what's new at CT Social? What are you guys cooking up over there?
Oh, well, sure. We've, as you know, we were super busy working with Harbor House on their Purple Purse campaign back a month or so ago, and that was fantastic. Oh, it looks like Greg got something there.
Oh, there we go. I don't know why that's over there on Greg. That's really weird.
This is the one, right?
That's it. That's
All
the
right.
one. Yeah, there it is. I don't know why it's not coming up for me. The toolbox, this isn't working today. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's what the bobblehead looks like. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see.
We may not be playing Potter Dyer at all. I don't know. Not working. But yeah, the Purple Purse campaign. Can you tell everybody a little bit about what that was?
Yeah, that was a campaign about financial empowerment and how it tied into the whole situation of domestic abuse. And we spent basically a whole month competing on behalf of Harbor House. Rather, Harbor House was competing and we were helping to get the word out about this important issue. And we were actually competing against 200 other domestic violence organizations nationwide. And it was quite an event because we did a number of live things. We did several hangout calls. There's all kinds of social media stuff happening, and at the end of the day, we helped Harbor House place 10th in this competition,
Wow.
which was really quite something. It was a lot of work, but it was well worth it.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
They really, I don't know, I always feel like they definitely deserve all the attention they get. They really do an outstanding job working on behalf of survivors in Central Florida, and even further beyond now that they're working on helping other organizations replicate their wonderful programs like the animal shelter on site, the daycare, and so on and so forth. So,
And what I love about them, Carolyn, is that they do that they are such they have a well-rounded view of what goes on. I mean, they really get in there because, people are attached to their pets, and they may not leave because they can't take their animal with them for fear of what might happen to them or something like that. So, I mean, just kudos to them. That is fantastic.
They've actually had situations. They've shared some stories with us where a survivor actually did leave and their pet was left behind, and the abuser, of course, made sure that it was something horrible happened, and because of that, they took that stand and they decided that the services that they were providing were not enough. And like you said, the people that just actually don't leave because their children are there or their pet is there, and now they can take their pet and their child with them, and they don't have to be in that horrible situation, and get some help, and they help them get on their feet as well, because as Carolyn was saying about the whole Purple Purse campaign, there's a lot of survivors that are in situations where they go to work, they have a job, but they're not allowed access to their funds. It's put into a bank account that's supposed to be joint, but the survivor doesn't have a card to the account, doesn't have a checkbook, or really any way to access it and get their own money. So they're put into a position that if they leave, they have nothing. They have absolutely nothing, and that's almost as scary as staying. And people don't understand when they're in that type of situation, the actual danger that they're in, staying in that situation. So places like Harbor House that help with that and actually create plans for them, so that way they can get a job or keep their job and put their money in their name in their own bank account, and teach them how to handle those resources, and then find an apartment for them that's also pet friendly. A portion of proceeds that go to Harbor House actually pay for the pet deposit when they move a survivor into a new apartment.
Wow.
So that way they can continue to keep their pet. And I mean, it's really, getting the entire family to safety. And that's their whole goal. They're not just looking at the survivor, they're looking at the whole equation, which I think is amazing.
That is amazing. It really is. It would be shocking to really know the numbers of how many men and women both stay in a situation like that because they don't feel like they have another option.
Right.
You know, it's not just women. It's mostly women, but not all.
Not all, not by any means. Yep.
Right, exactly.
So now that that's wrapped up, we've actually turned over our attention to an issue that is tangentially related, but goes much beyond that. We have been working for quite some time, actually, with the Rethink Homelessness campaign, which started here in Central Florida and is looking like it's going to expand potentially nationwide in the next year or two. So that is about taking those survivors who are living in domestic violence situations and don't know where they're going, and the countless other people who, for economic reasons, health reasons, many other reasons, become homeless, and looking at how we change the face of homelessness and how we change our approach to solving homelessness. Greg, do you want to talk a little more about that?
Well, I just want to share a little success story here with that as well. The Rethink Homelessness campaign has been going really amazing, not just on social media, but in the press and with local city leadership. Just this year alone, we have Mayor Dyer. Orlando City's mayor. He found $1 million that he's set aside to allocate towards permanent supportive housing. And this housing should be able to help 300 chronically homeless people in Orlando. What chronically homeless means is that they're always becoming homeless. They've been homeless for many years, and that there's really no end in sight for them. They may have mental disabilities that keep them from being able to work, or maybe it's large-scale substance abuse that's keeping them from working as well. But the idea is to help them, get them into a safe environment that then they can relax, and they can choose to detox and eventually get them back into a productive role. The ones that can, and the other ones need permanent housing. What they've actually discovered through different research around the nation is that, and even the research here with, I think it was the 5 most common chronic homeless people in Orlando, they found that creating a permanent supportive housing for them and putting them in there at no cost to them actually saves the taxpayers millions of dollars in services, because otherwise these people are taking emergency room services, they're getting locked up in jail, and we're having to pay for them as taxpayers through that. So we're finding that we actually save money by doing the human thing and taking care of the people that are having a hard time taking care of themselves. So just the flip-flop that we've had here in Orlando from seeing a homeless person and most people saying, oh, they need to get a job, to actually looking at the situation and saying, like, oh my goodness, this is something horrible that's happened to somebody, and now they're in this situation, we need to get them out. It's been a complete 180. And right now, we're actually expanding to Jacksonville. We'll be launching that campaign here in the next couple of weeks. And we actually faced much stronger opposition there. People have a much more negative view of homeless people in Jacksonville than they did here in Orlando. So it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle, but we're already finding that we're gaining traction, and we still haven't launched the campaign fully yet. So very positive news for us, seeing these messages that are coming across, and already just from starting my Facebook efforts. I'm already getting messages from people that are asking to help out with the campaign and want to get in on this as well, and they're commenting on our posts and talking about how horrible this is and that we need to help. And so there are people with that mindset already in Jacksonville, and we're trying to collect them together on our Facebook page and make sure that the leaders in Jacksonville know that the people want them to help those that can't help themselves.
It's amazing what happens when people start looking, if you look at someone as a soul, instead of just, oh, that's just somebody who needs to get a job. That's just somebody who's dirty or whatever. That's somebody who's been through something hard. I mean, I would imagine we're all pretty, resilient people here, but it would prove a big challenge to any one of us if we were homeless, No hair dryer, no microwave, no nothing, no blankets, you know.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
I mean,
Kirk. Everybody say hey to Kirk.
hey Kirk, how's it going?
Well, you were talking about homeless, and then I showed up, and I thought maybe you were just talking about me behind my back. But you know what's so interesting about that? Greg said something that was just interesting. I think you're right. I didn't really realize this, but I think there are people that that look at the homeless community as a negative, in a negative way, instead of looking at it as how can we help these people. It's sad. That's just a sad thing because yeah, they didn't get. They're not there by choice. I mean, come on. They've made some choices to get themselves there, but or maybe they didn't. But that's just a sad situation.
Exactly.
I mean, oh, go ahead, Carol.
I was just going to say one of the solutions that we heard about that was kind of proposed in Jacksonville was essentially just putting all the homeless people on a bus and shipping them to another county. That's not solving homelessness. That's not solving anything. That's the worst possible solution, really, because you're taking them away from a place where there are services and probably dumping them in a place where there's none. So it's really, really inhumane. And at the end of the day, you know, we're not looking at you shouldn't look at these people as, you know, the homeless and as a blight on society. That's counterproductive in every possible way. It's much more productive to say, like you were saying, how do we find solutions? How do we help you get to the point where you're no longer going to be homeless, where you're no longer going to be a drain on society? It's interesting, you know, that he brought up the hairdryer thing, Rhonda, because there's a school teacher in Orlando who actually decided to do an experiment and spend 30 days on the streets, more or less as just, you know, as a homeless person. He kept his cell phone so he could post updates to Facebook on what was going on and everything he experienced. And, you know, he found that despite his bachelor's degree and his master's degree, he could not get a job by putting down, when he put homeless as his address. He just couldn't. I mean, he's well educated. He's not, you know, he's not a druggie. He's not an alcoholic. He smokes cigarettes, but that's about it. And he's, you know, he was still running up against these things. So, and the truth of the matter is, you know, think about when you go to a job interview. You get a good night's sleep the night before. You get up and shower in the morning. You put on some nice clothes. You drive there in your car or take public transportation probably. And, you know, as a result, you're able to look very presentable and very, very professional. How is someone who's homeless supposed to do that? They don't have a place to sleep. They're not likely to get a good night's sleep because most places, if you fall asleep on a park bench, you're likely to be arrested. Forget showering, most likely. Forget a clean set of professional clothes. That's not that easy to come by. So it's a whole situation that has to be addressed comprehensively.
I'm sorry to break the mood here, but are we talking about Walking Dead? I mean, they're all pretty much homeless, right?
Can be.
That they are.
They are, aren't they?
Essentially the same thing, except now they have to deal with zombies.
They don't even really have a body. They're not just. Not only are they homeless, but they don't even live in their own body.
Leave it to the Supreme Chancellor of Awesome to reel us back in. There you go. That's the best lower third ever, by the way, Greg. Ever.
Thank you. Dustin Stout actually created it for me. Gonna have to tag him so that he knows that I talked about him in this HOA. Dustin Stout actually made these along with some other people's as well for a Star Wars HOA that we were doing. Very, very awesome.
Yeah, super
Greg,
awesome.
I didn't know if you noticed, but you haven't gotten the upgrade to your glasses yet. I just wanted to make you aware of that. This is the new upgrade right here. You just move this down like this, and then you're me, and now you're Greg, and now you're me, and now you're Greg.
I have a pair coming in the mail.
Okay.
Don't think they have that flip on them though, but they haven't actually sent them yet. So I was before the show. I was trying to get on the phone with them, but the wait time was way too long. So I'll probably after this show get on the phone with them and tell them that I need the flip sunglasses attached to the top.
Yeah, you've got to have that's that's the latest and greatest.
They need to say go plus yourself on the side, don't they, Kirk?
Did they say that on the side of this side?
They actually don't.
Oh, how about this side?
No, they don't have that either. But they do actually have a prescription.
Oh, well, that's important. There you go. I think you need to get Greg and Carolyn a pair of those Go Plus Yourself glasses.
I definitely support
I'm
it.
going to send you. What color do you want, Greg?
Well, do you have blue?
I do have blue.
Yeah, you have blue.
I'll take blue.
Karen, what color do you want?
I'll take. You got red?
I don't have red.
I don't think red.
I have every color but red.
Blue, black, green.
Orange.
Green's good.
Okay, I'll send you some.
Awesome.
There you go. And Ryan is back with a rifle. How about that?
That's. Of course he is.
That's
Of course
not
he is.
creepy at all.
And he's looking really confused about it.
He's mute. Maybe he has a zombie in there. He's gonna.
I don't know. Okay, here we go. Okay.
I saw some zombies the other day. They have
You did?
they have the Thriller thing going on up Kingsbury Hall up here in Utah, and they have outside of the production, they have these zombies that wander around up there, and kind of follow you around and freak you out a little bit. I've never seen so many people get freaked out about zombies. I mean, it's genius.
That's awesome.
I would be freaked out about it.
There's one girl that puts her arm like over her head, and she must be double jointed or something, but her arm just doesn't look like it's attached. And she walks around with it like hanging over her back, and it looks like somebody just placed it on there, but it's her arm. It's bizarre. And then of course the makeup is amazing.
Oh yeah, makeup is always pretty awesome. I've been enjoying Halloween Horror Nights here in Universal Studios Orlando, and they in addition to having the haunted houses, which they actually have a Walking Dead haunted house, and the haunted house for Walking Dead is all season 4 themed. So you basically walk in at where the beginning of season 4 starts, and you walk through, and eventually you end up in Terminus, the city at the end of, or the town at the end of season 4. Which is pretty awesome as well. But when you're on the streets in Universal Studios, they have different sections with different types of horror themes. Like there's one that's basically like a voodoo bayou. They did the movie The Purge as well in the streets, so they have like guys running around with chainsaws, and then there's like an auction for people. They're auctioning off people to purge. If you haven't seen The Purge, it's really not that great of a movie, but it's kind of an interesting story.
It was interesting. That one I actually watched.
Oh, you did watch? Which one? The first one or the second?
The first one, and I'm going to watch the second one probably this coming weekend.
All right. Yeah, the one with Kevin Bacon, I mean, it was kind of all right. It was just like, I don't know, he was a little conflicted with his ideas of what he needed to do. The second one, not nearly as good of a movie as the first one, but the story is far more interesting than the second one.
Awesome. There we go. So you talked me into watching 2 things this week.
We have a canal that runs through our neighborhood, and I've always wanted to have a haunted house in that canal, and actually have a boat that comes down with a Grim Reaper in it, and then have things along the bank all set up.
Cool.
So this year,
boat ride.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? This is the first year that I've actually found out when they shut the water off to that canal, and so I've got to do it before the 16th of October, because then there's no water in it. But if I do it before the 16th of October, then I could do it. And I think I'm going to start right around the 1st of October and start doing that next year.
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome. Like I was telling Carolyn, just from the Halloween Horror Nights experience, I've just been thinking about like haunting everything, like even the lines, because it gets packed in there, especially now that it's getting closer to Halloween. There's no way that you can get into a line for a haunted house and not wait 2 hours. It's insane. So I was telling her they need to start haunting the line. Have a haunted line experience. So that way it's like
do that here.
The haunted house.
Yeah, they do that here. They haunt the line here. You be standing there, and people be coming out of the place, and they're all crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely need to
That's
eat.
not awesome. Horrible.
The one downside to doing that at Universal would be that the lines are among the few places at Halloween Horror Nights that you can feel safe if you're a little bit of a scaredy cat like me.
You should just not go there if you're scared of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I pushed myself.
Scared
You know
of
what?
it, don't go there.
Exactly. I decided to
That's
push.
us, Carolyn. We'll skip it. There
Yep.
you go. Get that.
Well, you know,
There you
I enjoyed it really quite a lot actually. Going to Halloween Horror Nights. I mean, Universal Studios, as you might expect. I mean, it's not your typical haunted house. It's just very, very elaborate, and lots of movie references, TV references all over the place. So it's a lot of fun from that perspective. And after you get used to people jumping out and scaring you and sneaking up behind you and hissing in your ear and things like that, it's not too scary.
Plus,
My brother decided to jump out at me yesterday. Let's see, it would be Saturday. Saturday we went for a bike ride, and we knew that we weren't going to get back in the light of day, so we took our lights with us. We're up in the mountains. I mean, it's pitch black up there. We got our lights on, and I'm waiting for Tony, and finally Tony shows up, and then we head down the hill, and my brother had been down there waiting behind this tree, and he jumps out from behind the tree right in the middle of the trail. That's it.
Oh my gosh.
I was something.
Mm-mm. There we go.
That
I don't
was-
know if we're going to get Ryan back in time to close the show out.
Well, we can just I'll just close the show out. See ya.
Great job, Kirk.
Yeah. Bye.
There you go.
Y'all come back right here.
Yeah, you all come back now. You hear? Hey,
Carolyn. Yeah, go ahead, Kirk.
I gotta say one thing about that. We were talking about homeless. I have to say one thing about it. We got to talk about the elephant in the room a little bit, just for 1 second. Everybody's kind of been burned by the homeless person a little bit, or somebody that they've given money to, or somebody they've tried to help. That doesn't mean that you can't keep helping somebody just because one time somebody took that money and went down and bought some booze with it, or did something with it you didn't think was appropriate, because that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to help them in whatever way you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's the truth. That's the truth, Kirk. And if you're really worried about giving someone money, take them and buy them food. If they're truly homeless, they'll appreciate that just as much, if not more. Not least the fact, if you stick around and listen to their story, that makes a huge, colossal difference. Even if if you don't have anything to give, just hearing someone out who's been on the street for a while, they're used to being ignored. They're used to being treated like dirt. So if you treat people like a human, it means something. So
you can't give any money, and you don't have time to sit there and talk to them. You don't really have to do that either. It just when you're walking by somebody who's obviously homeless and they ask you if you have a couple of dollars to spare or some change, a lot of people, like Carolyn said, they just ignore them, just walk right past them like they're not even there. I at least make it a point to acknowledge them, look them right in the eyes, and tell them, I'm sorry, I don't have any change tonight. And just let them know that I acknowledge them and that I see that they're there and respond to them as well. And, if that kind of thing makes you uncomfortable, just even interacting, there's other ways that you can help. Just getting involved in your local food pantries or your local shelters, donating money to them, or volunteering and helping in that kind of way. As we progress as a society and we start to figure out the structures that we need in place that may not abolish homelessness, but reduce it a significant amount. Until we've come up with those, we really just have to try and help the best way that we can. And for right now, it's really temporary solutions. I mean, finding food and shelter for tonight is great, but it doesn't help them get off the street. And that's what we're ultimately looking at, is getting them off the street, and the people that can eventually become productive, putting them back into society and making them a happy, healthy, producing human being.
Exactly.
Good
And I
stuff.
think that's a good note to end up on right there.
Great note.
I really do. Greg and Carolyn, thank you so much for coming back with us. And Kirk, thanks for jumping in.
Oh,
And
glad
Ryan.
you fixed my computer.
Yeah, there we go. And Ryan, See ya.
Thanks for having us.
It's his own show. That's part